morning, everybody. It's going to be the Fed's opening, and then we'll get to it. Let's get rid of the music, and let's do it. Sorry about that. All right, let's get to it. The biggest news that I can see out there that's going on right now. First, good morning. But the biggest news that I have out there, and I just want to make sure the sound's working perfectly. Yep, we should be good. Any issues, let me know. But is the HIMSS news. It seems like you have more details coming out on this thing, that they terminated it because they're citing illegal mass compounding and deceptive practices. So it's pretty, it's not good. What I was trying to figure out is, why did they cancel so abruptly? Because the cancel happens and then you're like, okay, well, that's not good. It tried to rally. I'll show you exactly where it did. And this is always why I tell people to use I always tell people to just use the VWAP. So it's just so easy. It's like up, over, breaks. You're like, okay, well, we tried to rally, we failed. And then all you're doing is like the IPO VWAPs or like pre-market VWAPs. And you're just really shorting using that level. And there's your stop. I mean, it's a pretty easy trade. Down here, and you're trying to hold. And for the moment, you are holding. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how this goes. What I would say is you're getting more details, and it's a conjecture, but apparently NVO didn't like HIMSS business practices. I don't think that's great for HIMSS, because it's going to, like, a comment like that's really going to scare other people from partnering with them. But, you know, right now you're holding, you're kind of holding that level now. So it's super interesting to see how this goes. I would think that any institution is just going to get out of the name and then, you know, try to figure out what they want to be when they grow up. But, you know, you never know how this stuff's going to go. In regards to NVO, I didn't even really look at trying to come in and try to figure out if I, you know, wanted to short that one or not. Personally, what I think is interesting about that is that, you know, they might actually benefit from this in some weird way, find another partner that they're more comfortable with, because they obviously want another partner. I don't know who that partner would be. Like, if they did it once, they're going to do it again, right? So they just would be like, hey, who's that partner going to be? And I don't have an answer to that yet. We'll figure it out. I do think you want to look at this and go, you know, is there an opportunity here with NVO? It does make me think that to an extent. Like, okay, so what? Like, NVO still has the drug. Now you just have to go to them to get it, or go to your doctor. Maybe they don't have the same. You don't have the same what? You're going to say you don't have the same demand? Please, everybody wants this thing. So now they're just going to get it from a different vehicle. So that might actually, you know, that could actually bounce. But what I would watch for the HIMSS, if I could tell you the thing, where my head is with it, and this is somebody that I loved it Friday. I mean, it looked awesome, but that's really bad news. So you just probably want to see if you retest this level. Do you hold that level? Do you break? And then kind of go from there. Or you might want to watch the open. But I would think any institution that took a spot in this is going to be like, get me out now and I'll ask questions later. I think that's where their head's going to be. I could be wrong on that. You never know. But I don't think I am. I truly don't. And what I'd wait for is you'll get some big squeeze at some point, and then look for the, you know, the kind of the rollover, and then maybe there's a spot there where it makes sense to try it and see if it does stay down. But I'm leaning towards that. You'll just have net sellers all day in this thing. That's the biggest news that I have. If I was to very quickly just go take a look at the ES on, you know, a daily, it doesn't look that bad. You do have some big levels that you have to watch. We went through the breadth in Saturday's video. I'm not going to bore you again with that. What we're going to do is just look at the levels this morning and see if they're telling us anything that we really have to, focus on. And you can see our lower level from here on Thursday that actually held really well when it gapped down on the news. The question is, where does this all go? And I don't think anybody truly has an answer to it yet. I do think some of these levels, I think you're better off looking at that one because it ties directly into this. You can see where it's pure bonk and where you flipped from, support to resistance. And they're always the most interesting levels. From my perspective, they are. So I would focus on that. The other thing that if you want to be super, critical of is that if any kind of rally like this, you can just mark this as kind of a minor level like that. I tend to use these shorter ones for like minor levels and just put an alert there because if you try to rally, fail the rally, and you're going to want to know if you hit either one of these and then how you act at it. But if you fail the rally and roll over, well, you're probably going back down to here pretty quickly. I don't think it's going to be a short move. I think it's going to be a quick move. I just don't think that you sold off enough on the Iranian news. And I think they did that on purpose. But, it is what it is. I always think that they do things on purpose. I just don't think they want to show you how much they really want to sell. And I think that you might see that this morning. So the breadth is not great. It's not too exciting. There's some names out there to me that look fantastic. HIMS was one of them until this morning, but that's the kind of market you're in right now where, you see something like that and you got to put the brakes on, man. You just got to go, oh, okay, well, that's not going to work anymore. And that's a real problem. So I do think that can get worse. And what I would say with something like that is I think that, that can make your whole day a trade like that, quite frankly. So, if that gets really bad, like people are like, oh, that's bad. I'm like, that's not bad. That could get really bad. So, depends on the details and how they handle what NVO is saying about them. Cause NVO is not being nice about it. They're saying there was deceptive practices and all kinds of stuff. So, it's all conjecture at this point, but if it starts getting into that, that's a real problem for them. Because then other people aren't going to, and you got to be careful when you say stuff like that too, because then you realize that the other underlying firm can sue you because, you're getting in their way of other business partners. So, because other people are going to say, well, what do you mean they had deceptive business practices? Like, can you clarify that? Can you give me an example? Like, it's a big statement. Because why would a corporation even say that? Like they could just come out and say, we're pulling this, no further, no further statement at this time. They don't have to give a reason, at all. They just don't have to really give that reason. So let me just take a look at these levels. I think that's a fair assessment on how I say it. I do. I think it's a fair assessment. The other thing I would say is like you look at something like a Nvidia, you really can't rally. And I think you're going to start seeing a little bit of a different market with a lot more chop and a lot less follow through. And when you see those kinds of markets, you're actually better off buying support levels. But if you were to look for your support levels, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like this is a major one. I think this is more minor, that 4101. And I don't know what you're really going to get there on Nvidia, quite frankly. You have Micron coming out. I think Micron's the play, but then you have other issues too. And, we have more headline risk in this market than we've had in a market in a long time. We have to deal with that. You have a lot going on here, like a lot with the market as far as what are we really doing? Meaning, Lutnick can make a statement at any moment about China and what he's doing there. And, maybe he's going to put it on pause now because of what happened with Iran. I don't have a clue about that. But when I look at something like this, I do find it interesting. Also, something like a PLTR that people are rushing into, I think you need to be really careful on what's happening here because when I look at something like this on the RSI, like it's not really great. And I don't really care if you use RSI or not, but it's not great like at all. Like it's almost like a perfect short where here's the higher high. And then here's where you're at, and you can kind of see it from there. And that's going to be your, your issue that I see anyway. Like eventually this is going to come down to that 126, 127, whether that's today or not, I don't know, but I think you're due for a test of that, like another test of that area. And the 4 hours not really doing what you want it to do. It tried to rally here. You can see it pretty clear if I look at it, where you tried to rally back over this bar. Here's that 4 hour close. Remember, these 4 hours are not really 4 hours. We went through this because where they are, but you tried to rally over it and you completely reject it. So, your short area is really above, like anything over that 142 area. If you got up there and you reject, you can see it. So that's really what you're looking for. But I think that there's a problem there. So I would watch that. There it goes. There goes that HIMS, new lows. I think that's new lows, but yeah, that's new lows. So that should get pretty ugly, actually. I know people think that's ugly, but that's not ugly. Like this thing can get ugly. So especially as that news comes out, see how tight that's getting to. It's just a matter of time before it really breaks. Yeah, I think you do have to get into that. Yep, cool. But let's see, I have a position. I'm short this. It was a really easy short once you saw the news. You just short right into it. I mean, that's literally what you had to do. And then you just waited. All you had to do was just wait. And all you're doing is waiting for this bar right here. I mean, that's all you're doing. Then you're like, okay. And you just quantify the risk. Boom. That's it. And then you just watch how you're acting. You're trying to hold this level, but you're not going to hold that level. They're going to get it. They're going to smoke this thing. What else we have that's of interest? You're probably going to ask about Tesla. I don't know how this thing went. So many mixed messages on how that went. What I would be doing is I would get rid of this pre and post. And what my really big test for this day would be, here is that 9:30 on Friday, right? My really big test for this would be, do the people that bought it Friday morning, do they want to be in it or do they not want to be in it? And that's where they paid. And then if it pulls back to here on Friday, like these would be my really big levels. Like, do these people that bought for this event, are they happy with what they saw? Because it looked ridiculous. But I know a lot of people are going to say, no, it was awesome. Cool. But something like this, I need to look at this and then go, does this make sense? I didn't think it was like anything. He got in a car, he waved at a couple people. He had some people say how great it was. Like, okay, now what? Like, when does it? See, a lot of these events are starting to become like, they're becoming the law of diminishing returns. Like, you're just not getting the same kind of lift on it because people are like, okay, when does this turn into revenue? And I do think that's kind of an issue. So, I do. I think it's a much larger issue for them than people think it is. But I would watch that open and go from there. That's really what I have that I think is important. I can go through the core weaves and the circles and stuff like that if you guys want to, but I don't think it's really necessary. Let's keep going here and just keep checking this HIMS. I have a position in this, so I have to keep clicking on it and just watching. Let me just drop this here. What I'll do is I'll throw it on another screen so I don't have to keep clicking on it while we're talking. I think I have it over here too. There it goes. I'll just drop it here and watch it on this other screen. Give me 1 second. I can take questions if you have any. I don't need this up. Let's take some. See what you guys are looking at out there. What are you crazy kids looking at? What's up, buddy? One minute. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I can post it somewhere. Maybe I'll post it on a link. in the on one of the videos, like pin comment or something. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely getting to that point where I think there's an issue in the market with the breadth. I think the breadth looks awful. And I think you just need to be super, super careful out there today. I don't really know how else to say it. I do. I think you need to be like really careful of how this is going to play out and kind of go from there. I don't know that you want to be, I don't know that you want to just like, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is when I look at it, it's like, okay, are we going to hit this and run, or are you going to slice through it? And I don't think you have an answer yet. So from my perspective, if the breath wasn't as weak as it was, I might say you're going to bump and run, but I don't know that you're going to bump and run. You might just bump and like trip. So I thought that was funny. As far as lemonade, like a lot of these insurance companies are doing great. I really liked this a ways back in the day, and then it just didn't do anything. So I just kind of walked away from it. It had this really good earnings. It started going sideways and building, and then it just kind of fell apart. Maybe try again. I don't know. I'm not feeling it, but insurance is on fire. I mean, some of these insurance names are just going crazy. Like it's just nuts. Like this Root or Sezzle. I look back at this thing when it got to the 22, it was $100, and now you're at 145. I mean, it's just an absolute monster, and I don't see any reason for that to change. So it's definitely something that you want to pay attention to, at all those insurance names. But I really think that give me 1 second here. I got a big short on this, so I'm just watching it. I really think that the insurance names make a lot of sense. As far as CoreWeave, I think you just have to trade it, man. Like there's no sellers, but you have huge short positions. You had huge buying at the end of the day. I really don't know the true catalyst why I have to own it right now up here. Like as someone that was talking, in the community about buying this thing at like $1.50, I don't know that I got to be in up here. Like I don't know that. I don't know that I got to be this guy. And so far, I'm rejecting those areas. So do I really want to be that person? I'm not sure that I do. So, it's super important to get that. I don't know that you want to be, that guy right now. Like, I don't know that you need to be. I think that you're better off just looking at it and going, yeah, let me let it chill. I think on dips you might want to, but I would only be buying if I got smoked, like smoked. So that's how I look at it. This is where the cool kids are. Hims is a dumpster fire. Meta, the Rocket Labs I like a lot. But here's the thing that I would say to you, and I think this is where your head's got to go. We're losing leadership. Like that's a loss of leadership. So here's the 12, and we broke the 12, and we really haven't had a red bar under the 12 or a lower low since you broke above it here, April 24th. So this is a very different looking chart. We could argue we broke it here, but it was green and fixed itself. So are we going to start getting closes under that? And if we start losing leadership like that, like watch, you're losing it in Google too. You got Googled. So like you are losing like that kind of leadership here. And I do think that there's something to be said about that, where you have to look at this and go, is this something where I have to, what am I going to do with this? Like, am I going to put myself in a position here where I want to jump in front of these names like Meta and Google right now? I don't think so. Even the Microsoft that, I had a position in, I was selling, calls against it until I could get out of it because I didn't like the way it acted. And I certainly didn't like the way it acted on Friday with the reversal. And Friday reversals are always scary because that's usually institutional selling, pension fund selling. And then when the big dogs come in, you have a problem. So we should probably look at smart money, dumb money the more I'm thinking about it. I should probably do that tonight. I'll do that tonight. I'll do that today for the video. So if you're interested in smart money, dumb money, you're going to want to watch tonight. But I think it's the time to go take a look at those guys, see what those crazy kids are doing. I think this looks fantastic, and you're setting up really nice. I don't know if you need to rush into it, but I do think it's setting up very nicely. And I do think that it can lift. And so that's kind of where my head is with it. Yeah, I mean, I like these names to an extent, but I'm a little concerned, and I don't, I'm a little concerned about the consumer, but I seem to be the only one. This is actually a perfect area to start looking at putting a short on up here, candidly. If you reject that 22, it's literally perfect. Because I don't know what's going to happen with inventories, because I think inventories are going higher. I think inventories are going a lot higher. And it's definitely something that you need to be paying attention to. Like the inflation argument's coming. Inflation's coming. Winter's coming. I sound like Game of Thrones. I should get the Game of Thrones music. And it scares me about these charts, because I don't think people get that a lot. I don't. And it's really important to get that. Like, to me, it is anyway. You might be like, whatever, boomer. But you're going to care, man, when you start seeing like 300K jobless claims. And, Lutnick's like, well, we might do this or we might do that. Like, bro, make a decision. It's not political. Just make a freaking decision. But SMCI stock dilution, did they do a secondary? If they did, I'm not aware of it. I could try to pull the terms up very quickly and speak about it. But go from there. Yeah, hopefully I dropped that in there. Let me just see something. Did I drop that in there? Hopefully I did. But let me just see here, see what we got going on. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I don't know. Let me see if I can find this. Sorry, the ADD kicked in, and now someone's mocking me for sneezing. I don't see that. Let me just go here and see if I can find anything about that. Pottery Barn launches its first series. There's an 8K that came out at 7 o'clock. Is that what you're referring to? Oh, or this big headline that says announces proposed $2 billion convert note. Yeah, that might do it. I gotta go back to my old news, man. I had much better news. It was just so expensive. It's 8:55. I'm gonna have to jump, guys. I have a huge position short here, so I'm gonna have to go pay attention to it. Hims is in big trouble. Today, just be careful. That's all I can tell you is I'd be super careful. Back in the day, I would be careful with crude too, because they're already saying it's over. As a matter of fact, I read a really good piece over the weekend. Like, this was the easiest short in the world last night. It was so easy. It was literally 1 bar. Like, your whole risk was 1 bar, dude. Like, look. Like, what? Like, future Sunday night sometimes is just almost a joke. It's so easy. You just have to be willing to take the risk and size accordingly. So I really like a lot of these uranium names. What I would say to you, and where I would go with this, is I go look at what's happening in Niger with uranium and what's happening with France and Russia. And I'll tell you exactly what the issue is here and where they're going with all this. That's what I would do. I would start really understanding what's going to happen with uranium. I don't think people have a clue. I do think that you're going to need something else to get you there. And I do think it's going to be natural gas. The more that I read, it's going to be natural gas. That's how I say it. So, all right, I got to jump, guys. Trade to win.